Hello, everyone. I'm Catherine Mortensen from ALEC Public Affairs, and we are broadcasting from the States and Nation Policy Summit in Washington, D.C. And joining me now is the lovely Gabriella Hoffman. Gabriella and I have been friends for many years. Gabriella is here today at the Policy Summit representing a group called the Center for a Constructive Tomorrow.
The Committee for a Constructive Tomorrow.
Committee for an Instructive Tomorrow, or you can just call it CFACT. And let me make sure I get Gabriella there, CFACT, and their website. I'll put that up at the end of the interview. Tell us about CFACT and what is your message to state lawmakers today?
Yes, so CFACT is a free market environmental organization. I specifically handle the conservation portfolio, tackling fishing, hunting, wildlife conservation, and anything that relates to that. Most of my colleagues handle the climate portfolio, and we sometimes weigh in on climate policy under my banner of issues, but we primarily tackle kind of the neglected or ignored or kind of misunderstood topics that fall under environmentalism. And today we're going to talk about, when I give remarks later for one of the meetings here, we're going to talk about the effects of Scope 3 emission standards from the Securities and Exchange Commission on small ranchers and farmers, medium and small size ranchers and farmers, and how this agency, which has no jurisdiction over these entities, is trying to put more burdens on these companies, force them to meet certain standards, and then the issues of whether or not they're in that jurisdiction and how those impacts will be felt. It's kind of an ESG adjacent issue under the environmental banner under ESG. And so people have said, obviously, it's an excess of radical environmentalism or it's a component of ESG. And this is going to have a lot of implications on the people who produce the food we eat, crops that we enjoy, vegetables, fruits, etc., all across the board. Another government regulation, unnecessary government regulation, and ways to kind of combat it.
So, Gabriella, are there tools that state lawmakers can use to combat this?
There are absolutely tools. Obviously, putting this agency in check. The SEC has no jurisdiction over small ranchers and farmers. And what would happen is if this rule were to go into effect, although there is growing bipartisan opposition, even from lawmakers on the left at the federal level as well, but they can write to the SEC, of course, and ask an inquiry. Why are you looking to do this? Is this practical? What burden is it going to have on small ranchers and medium-sized farmers and ranchers as well? I think if they want to kind of discourage, let's say, pension funds or other related items deep in finances, maybe looking to divest or probably question ESG funds and how those are being examined in their respective states at the state level. That's what a lot of states are doing. But there are many ways to tackle this. Obviously, calling for question, why is the SEC looking to go into this? But I know you guys are exploring different ways to address kind of these attacks on individuals and people who are partaking in the free market system.
Well, I want to thank you for bringing this issue to my attention. Certainly, I had no idea that the SEC was reaching into our farmers and the agricultural community. I always assumed the SEC was sort of the Wall Street regulating those people. Like, I never thought they would be going into the space of these farmers.
But yeah, while you still have me, they have found a loophole, interestingly enough, to go after these people that are out of their jurisdiction, to say that if you don't comply with these Scope 3 emissions, you won't be able to do business with publicly traded companies under the SEC. So this is to punish those who deal with these publicly traded companies, much like with the carbon tax. When you put these burdens on small farmers and ranchers, you essentially will drive business out of the state and ultimately out of the country.
I'm going to put your website up.
Yes.
CFACT.org. It's there on the screen. And give me a second and I'll share her website just so you can see what's going on their homepage. Because I think a lot of our state lawmakers who do represent rural parts of their states, they're going to want to know, what is this? This may be new to them as well. So if you want to learn more, check out CFACT.org. There's their homepage, and you can learn more about what the SEC is doing to try to jump into the space of small farmers and make their lives miserable, basically, is what it sounds like. So I want to thank you, Gabriella, for being here.
Of course, Kat. Anytime.
Right. We'll see you next time on another ALEC TV broadcast.